better than 99.997 chance of surviving, the people in charge had to come up with something scarier to keep us all locked down. That's when the fascist Dr. Benito Fauci and his crack team of fear-mongering propagandists rolled out the Delta variant. It was new and vaguely ominous sounding and gave the government permission to continue eroding our constitutional rights in the name of protecting us from our own worst fears. And now that the fear from the dreaded Delta variant is dying down, of course, it was time to gin up another new and scary variant so they could keep pushing toxic experimental injections on a gullible public. Enter the Omicron variant.
This morning, the world racing to shut out, or at least slow down, the alarming new COVID variant first found in South Africa. The WHO officially naming it Omicron.
Omicron has already rattled stock markets around the world.
The new Omicron variant of the coronavirus could be more contagious than previous strains.
The nation will hear from President Biden today on the administration's planned response to the Omicron variant.
Today, I want to take a few moments to talk about the new COVID variant, first identified last week in Southern Africa. It's called the Omicron.
Omicron. So what exactly is the Omicron? Well, it's the latest variant of the Chinese Communist Party virus, and what is sure to be a never-ending line of constitution-shredding variants designed to strip us of our rights and seize more power. But how deadly is it in reality? The new contaminant, we'll refer to it as a con for short, was first reported in South Africa the day before Thanksgiving, but then it quickly spread like wildfire in the media. The WHO stoked the flames by saying this new variant could have severe consequences, and the overall global risk related to the Omicron variant is assessed as very high.
It's called the Omicron.
But keep reading, because the WHO followed up with, there is no information to suggest symptoms connected with the Omicron differ in any way from those of other variants. The WHO added, presumably under its breath, that this is a super mild variant and that it hasn't led to a jump in COVID death rates anywhere in South Africa. In fact, there have been no deaths linked to the Omicron variant. So it's no different from the other virus cons, and it isn't deadly at all. But you should probably go ahead and be as terrified as you possibly can. That'd be just great. Because in addition to being the latest variant, Omicron is also the latest in a campaign to boost the vaccine makers' stocks. On Friday, November 26th, a day after the Omicron variant was unleashed, vaccine manufacturers saw their stocks absolutely skyrocket. We're not talking hundreds of millions, we're talking tens of billions. On Friday alone, Pfizer's stock went up $18 billion. Pfizer's European partner, BioNTech, went up $12 billion. And Moderna blew them both away. And in a single afternoon, the company's stock went up $28 billion.
It's called the Omicron.
So in one day, the world's biggest makers of the mandatory vaccine the government is buying on your behalf saw their value go up by $60 billion.
It's called the Omicron.
What do you think is going to happen when these companies realize all they have to do to make $30 billion in a day is discover a new virus variant that's absolutely no different than any of the other ones that came before? That sounds more like insider trading or stock manipulation than protecting public health. And there are still people out there who think they're doing this all for our own good. They have no other motive. When you're defending the multi-hundred billion dollar international corporations that experiment on animals, maybe you're not on the right side. Maybe you're not with the resistance, but are actually part of the oppressors. And it's worth bringing up again that Pfizer, this company that we're supposed to trust with our health, with the safety of our nation, was found guilty of the biggest healthcare fraud in U.S. history. In 2009, Pfizer was forced to pay $2.3 billion specifically because they were found to have intentionally misled the public by misbranding one of their drugs to try and get more people to use it. This was after the FDA refused to give them approval because they said the drug wasn't safe. On top of that, Pfizer was also found guilty of illegally bribing doctors to prescribe its drugs to their patients. And this is after another lawsuit in 2004 when Pfizer was found guilty of actually suppressing evidence of adverse effects from its drugs. Pfizer was found to have manipulated its studies to support the use of its drugs with the goal of convincing doctors of their effectiveness and covering up their negative findings. But I'm sure with tens of billions of dollars on the line, they would never do that again.
I think you should get vaccinated.
And it's not like there's any evidence the vaccines today are causing harm to anyone. Heart attack rates in children aren't skyrocketing. Cases of previously rare neurological conditions, Guillain-Barré and paralysis, aren't going through the roof. And otherwise healthy people aren't just dropping dead at alarming rates. No, everything is totally normal. Benito Fauci, the dog murderer, says so. These vaccines are so safe, the President of the United States has issued mandates taking away your right to refuse them. So just go ahead, line up, get your injection. You can trust us. We're from the government. For One American News, I'm Pearson Sharp.